Hey guys, welcome back to another discussion video, and today we are going to be talking about some of the most notable ceiling fan company buyouts. So basically, that's like Casablanca and or Hunter buying Casablanca, which is something we'll be talking about. And yeah, we might as well just jump right into that one then. So yeah, Casablanca and Hunter were both their own companies. Hunter fan division had been like with Robbins and Myers and tons of other places, but we're not really talking about that. We're talking about Hunter and Casablanca here. So basically, Casablanca, had been doing its own thing. And then after a while, I believe maybe in 89 or in 91, somewhere around there, Burton retired, or it could have also been 93. I don't know, somewhere between like 89 and 93, Burton retired for the final time. And I believe he left the company, the whole thing, and with Ed Hart in charge. Eventually, he decided to sell to Hunter. So this was in 1996, and at the start, we didn't really notice too much of a dip in quality. Eventually, they changed to use the XLP motor, which was something that they had designed and made specifically instead of using Emerson or Astrozen or whatever the heck else they use, like I think Samsung and all that stuff. They made their own motors. That was one of their first big changes. I think that really came into play, I believe. I can't remember if it was 96 or 97. It was definitely in 97. I don't remember if it was in the 96 fans or not. But anyways, yeah, so towards the start, obviously, it takes a couple years for everything to go full swing for the buyout, because typically they're just working with whatever is left over before they decide to make changes. Luckily, they didn't really make too many changes in quality. A lot of the different products and stuff, some of the classic products were starting to be phased out though, and they started to introduce some new products. Then in the 2000s, they got really into a lot of these more unique, decor-specific and ornate and weird type products that I really liked. And honestly, towards the earlier parts of Casablanca, a lot of the fans shared a sort of similar shell, where you had your hang true, your down rod, your stack motor with housing, whether that's one of the more rounded ones or one of the more basic ones. Then you had your blades, then you had your typical switch housing. Sometimes it had a more decorative part to it. They were pretty much all the same. Then they just had few design changes. Fans like the Venus changed that up a little bit, along with a couple others, also like the Stealth. Once Hunter took over, though, a lot of those more basic things definitely start to go away, and a lot more different, a lot more integrated looking things start to be introduced, like the Mission and some other stuff like that. But anyways, this bio was going fairly decent. It was still disappointing, but nothing extremely terrible really happened that completely, in my opinion, destroyed Casablanca. None of that really happened until about 2013. This is when Hunter finally hunterized the brand, and they pretty much started getting rid of all the legacy models. They redesigned them all. Well, the legacies were still available, but they had the newer versions available, and you could clearly see that they were going to get rid of the legacy ones. And then eventually they did. Around 2016 and 2017, all the legacy fans were gone, and now it was just all these new fans. And they were going in the way of New Hunter, and New Hunter is not the greatest quality, so basically quality just kept on dipping. And now we're to the point where Casablanca doesn't even really get many new introductions anymore. They're just sort of fading away into nothing, and I don't even know how long the name is still going to exist, if I'm completely honest here. But yeah, overall, in my opinion, I don't think this buyout went very well. Typically, at the end of me discussing these buyouts, I'm going to say whether I think it went well or not. This one definitely did not. This was horrible. It really should have never happened. Even though Casablanca did file for bankruptcy quite a few times. I can't remember if that's why they sold it to Hunter in the first place, or I honestly do not remember. But anyways, up next, I think we should talk about Emerson. Now, Emerson is still a company. However, the Emerson ceiling fan division is what we're going to talk about here, like the air comfort products. So basically, Emerson had been doing their thing for quite a long time. And in 2019, it was publicly released that they were going to sell to Luminance Brands. And Luminance Brands had their own brands such as Concord, which did fans, Sunset Lighting, which did a lot of lighting fixtures and some fans before they partnered with Concord. And then they also had brands like ADL, which was a lot of lighting parts. And then they just had some other stuff as well. Those are a lot of the main names. But anyways, yeah, so they got bought. And You know, this was something that a lot of us were really upset about, especially when we found that in the end the main plan was that they were going to change the name. The Emerson name and ceiling fans would be gone. Now the quality did maintain itself. Okay, I didn't notice that much of a dip in quality when this buyout occurred, which was good. And then obviously, you know, they got rid of the K55 motor. However, once again, it takes a couple years for everything to get into full swing. So we never really saw what Luminance would have done with the company, because only a couple years in they went bankrupt. We'll get to more on that later. But yeah, eventually they changed the name to Kathy Ireland Home. The quality was pretty much still the same, only difference is the name. So at this point, you know, everything was still, you know, it was okay. I wasn't happy with it, but it was just okay. And then obviously, eventually, in June of this year, 2022, they filed for bankruptcy. And that's pretty much where the story ends. I'm 99% sure that what was Emerson fans is now going to be gone. I don't think they're going to be making a comeback, neither will Concord or Sunset or anything from Luminance for that matter. It's just been too long and there's been no new development, so I have a feeling that they're done, they're screwed, and that's the end of that, which is very unfortunate because, in my opinion, Emerson was probably the best manufacturer that we had. Even though towards the end their designs were getting a bit lackluster, they necessarily weren't my favorite. Like it was definitely kind of iffy, and the catalog layouts weren't the greatest, but at the end of the day they still did make a really solid product. So yeah, and I think let's switch it up. Let's talk about a buyout that I actually do think went well, and that is the Regency Hinckley buyout. So once again, Regency was its own thing. You know, they were owned by Tacony, and Tacony decided to sell Regency once again in 2019 to Hinckley. And so for the first year, the first catalog, it just said Regency Fans, division of Hinckley Lighting. Now, once again, they were still working with some older designs here. However, what Hinckley did different was in 2020, the next full model year, they redesigned all the old Regency products. They got rid of the ones they didn't think would work. They just got them out of there. They redesigned the ones that they wanted to keep selling, and then they Hinklified the finishes. Well, essentially they Hinklified the whole fans, and also they introduced a couple of new designs like the Tempest or something like that. It was that bigger one. They also had the Tray, and also some with a V. It was the Ventus, I think it was. I don't know whether those were Regency designs or whether those are just something really quick that Hinckley came up with. I do not know. But yeah, that year they mostly just spent time redesigning, and the quality on these fans were pretty good. It was pretty impressive. And they also brought back quite a few design elements that I was missing from the Regency line, like when they took the vents off the Gladiator. I didn't like it nearly as much, but they brought those back, and then they sort of reverted to a couple like older designs like that. And then they also did a lot of pull chain DC, which was quite interesting. Anyways, so then comes 2021, where they start doing some of their own designs, and they are absolutely amazing. Then this year, 2022 comes by, and we get the first full-line catalog that's not just a bunch of reused Regency designs. Most of those are gone now. We've got a whole new set of Hinckley stuff, and my goodness, are they amazing, and the quality is great too. Hinckley is absolutely amazing. They're probably the best manufacturer out there right now. Very, very high quality. Absolutely love them. This buyout definitely went well, and honestly, Regency was starting to fall apart. Like, I don't know how they were doing financially, but in terms of the new products they were offering, I just wasn't that happy with it. I didn't really like anything I saw ever. The one exception was the module fan. That was the only thing of recent Regency that I really liked, you know. That was the only new product I actually liked. But anyways, yeah, that's Hinckley and Regency. And there are quite a few other companies, and one I think that I would like to talk about would be the Fasco and Patton buyout. Now, Fasco, once again, was its own company. They'd been operating for quite a long time, and I think the Fasco name might still be around. That was, of course, F.A. Smith and Company. But anyways, yeah, Fasco made a bunch of ceiling fans and tons of other products too. It was not just ceiling fans, but of course, this being a ceiling fan discussion, we're going to talk about that. So yeah, they were doing their own thing. Then I believe it was like 96 or 97 when they got bought out by Patton. And most of the really quality American-made fans, Fasco was already phasing out. So for a while, they kept a lot of the stuff, but eventually they started introducing a lot cheaper looking, a lot more basic looking import products. And then eventually, I believe Patton got bought by somebody else. I can't remember who, but it was a huge chain. One thing that I do know is that eventually Q-Mark, well, I believe Q-Mark was in, actually, I think they might have been bought by like Marley or somebody like that. Because I believe that Q-Mark was under the, like the Marley and that whole, yeah, the Marley name. And in the Q-Mark catalogs, you could still see models like the Gillespie, which was an old Fasco model, along with just a couple other things, I believe. So I believe that eventually Marley bought Patton. Yeah, I believe that, yeah, I think that's right. I think Patton did buy Marley after the whole Fasco thing a few years later. And then basically all the old Fasco stuff was gone. However, was this necessarily bad? But, well, here's my opinion on it. Fasco already got rid of a lot of the amazing American-made models that we all loved. There were only a few of them left. And I have a feeling that they were also on their way out. Now, would it have been nice to see the Fasco name stick around for fans? Yes, but I don't necessarily know where it would have gone. I don't think it would have led to anything really, really spectacular. So overall, not the greatest loss, unfortunately, because, like I said, most of the cool products were already on their way out. The Charleston, too, was a really interesting thing, though. It didn't look anything like the old Charleston at all. It was absolutely hideous. But anyways, final brand I want to talk about here before we end the video is Homestead. Once again, Homestead was its own thing for a while. You know, they were a direct competitor to Casablanca. Funny I mentioned Casablanca because Casablanca is who ended up buying them out. I do not know why this occurred. People, I think, claim money troubles, but I don't know if they were ever able to prove that. But basically, Casablanca bought Homestead, and they changed Homestead to Airflow. They kept some of the older products. Eventually, they phased them out. They put them in the Casablanca catalog, the few that were left. Eventually, they were discontinued. The Airflow name then re-emerged for a more builder line of products. And then eventually, it was once again phased out around 2007 for good. I believe the last Homestead design that they still fully made would have been the Lumina in 1997/1998. I believe that would have been one of the last like Homesteady type designs that they had. They got rid of a lot of the other ones too. And then I don't remember whether the Sabre was technically something that Homestead/Airflow did. I honestly don't remember. However, one really interesting thing is that the Star. That was originally a Homestead fan. Then, you know, they discontinued it. Then they reintroduced it. Then they discontinued it. The fact that a ceiling fan from a dead company gets brought back not once, but twice is absolutely amazing. It's by far one of the coolest stories. This buyout was, unfortunately, quite sad. I've heard other people say it, and I also agree with the statement that it would have been really, really cool to see what Homestead would have been making these days. Like I said, I do not exactly know why they got bought out. I don't think we totally figured that out. I don't know if we found the full truth to that, but it happened, and that is quite unfortunate. And then obviously later on, Hunter bought them. When Hunter bought them is really when all the old Homestead products start to go away. A lot of them I do believe still use some of the old Homestead components, like the plug-in down rod. I do believe that even when they were under the Casablanca name, they still use those parts. They still had a couple Homestead light kits in the 96 catalog as well. But yeah, there we go. That's 5 of some of the bigger buyouts that occurred. There are, of course, so many more, but these are some of the bigger ones that really turned into something or nothing. And there are, of course, tons more. I don't know if we'll ever do a part 2, but I just figured I would go ahead and make this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.